What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got a quick Raid Raptor duel for you guys to check out. This is going to be really fast because it is going to be a little bit of an offensive explosion. And actually, if I had to pick a deck for probably most improved deck of like 2019, just a quick prediction, assuming that we get Wise Tricks sometime in that year in the TCG, I would definitely go with Raid Raptors as my front runner. I feel like Wise Tricks is going to significantly make that deck better. The plays that you now have, not just going first but going second. Going first, Raid Raptors is nuts. You can often make boards with like 5 disruptions. I had a crazy duel with Salamangrates against the Raid Raptor player, and my goodness, my eyes were just getting wider by the moment as he had Evil Swarm Nightmare and 2 copies of Fogblade and a Cyber Dragon Infinity. Luckily, I was able to play through it because every card in my hand was live, and I reborn his Cyber Dragon Infinity. But in general, Raid Raptors are disgusting, but they also have some ghost second power as well. That's what you guys are going to see. He's playing against Time Lords in this match. Obviously, Time Lords are a deck I don't really take seriously, but they're more of an annoyance than they are like actually a good deck, because there are a lot of decks that don't have like the inherent ways to just get rid of the Time Lords, even though it's pretty easy to outgrind Time Lords because they don't really make that much advantage. A lot of them have burn effects and whatnot. They do kind of burn themselves out, but at the same time, they can just be annoying to deal with because Time Lords don't take battle damage. They can't be destroyed by card effects, they can't be destroyed by battle, and he has Mound of the Bound Creator on the field, which means they can't be targeted either. So now you have these big Magic Specters on the field that essentially, like, they can't be, you know, destroyed by battle, and they don't take any battle damage. So it's annoying more than it actually is good. Luckily, Double R's do have some cards in their they have some cards, or at least not in their built, they're not built into the archetype, but they have the ability to summon some cards that can actually deal with boards like this quite easily. Now you can have Wise Tricks. This is really what I think raised the ceiling of the deck. The fact that Wise Tricks can pull Zephyros the Elite right out of the deck, and then you can not only exceed, you can go for your Force Tricks, but then you can bounce something like Raid Raptor's Nest to your hand. You can get your Zephyros the Elite back because, yeah, Zephyros the Elite is negated on field, but not in the graveyard. So this is why I think that, like, the deck is going to go just so far. You can get Soul Shade Force, activates non-existence. That doesn't do anything, to be honest. Now he has another one, and this is the card that's gonna break it, man. These you know, these big boss monsters that kind of have stun effects, if they don't have some type of like instant negation, this card right here, Zero Fane, can just wreck boards. I feel like every Double R player should be running a copy of Zero Fane. Shout outs to Rio from Zexo, always got to shout her out anytime Zero Fane is played in a duel. Now he has Cyber Dragon Infinity. He's going to pop the non-existence, he's going to suck up the Time Lord, and then he's going to attack. Obviously, the copy of, you know, the Mound of the Bound Creator is just inconsequential at this point. Even if he would have blown up the Mound of the Bound Creator and he would have searched like the Wing Dragon or Spear mode, he wasn't going to be alive to actually use it. Like, the dude already had game on board, and Rusty Bardique is actually super strong in the Raid Raptor deck. Don't quote me on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Phantom Knights of Fogblade got limited to 1 because of all of these decks that are splashing in Phantom Knights. Like, don't just, you know, there's just something that I'm throwing out. Like, everyone seems to be splashing in Phantom Knights right now, but, you know, maybe it's not gonna be, maybe it's something that just isn't gonna happen. But anyways, let's take a quick second to look at what the deck looks like on paper. Okay, so this is what the deck looks like on paper, and I think that a lot of this is actually pretty standard. I love the fact that Raid Raptor players are now starting to run just a load of you know, rank up cards, not just because they can get them and they can set them straight on the field with the Wise Tricks, but this is really how Konami wanted Raid Raptors to be ran from the beginning. If you ever watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V the anime, you know that Shun used every single one of those rank up cards on the anime, and now we're actually starting to find value in the cards because we can just set them straight to the field. Soul Shade Force obviously has always had a lot of potential. As soon as, you know, it was kind of learned that you could do the Cyber Dragon Infinity play, it just was never really going to be consistent because before there wasn't really consistent ways of getting your Force Tricks off the field. Now there are. You can turn your Force Tricks into the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardique, and then you can get, you know, you can get it back and turn it into a Cyber Dragon Infinity with the Soul Shade Force that you set. The Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardique is going to probably send a Silent Boots to the graveyard. You can banish that, you can get your Fog Blade. This deck actually has like ridiculously strong turn 1 boards, and a lot of it is done still with Exceed monsters. I mean, granted, the Link monsters facilitate you getting the you know, Exceeds on the field, but the Link monsters are not the ones that do the stun. The stun comes from basically like the Cyber Dragon Infinity and the Evil Swarm Nightmare. being able to put your opponent's monsters face down. And you would think that this card wouldn't be all that good because you can't use it against link monsters, but the thing about the Evil Swarm Nightmare is after your opponent uses that one normal summon, usually that one normal summon is not enough to facilitate them going into their extra deck, and if they're going to try to go for link monsters, then they're going to have to special summon more. Even if your opponent went normal summon Armageddon Knights and then bring out, a Dumple Malicious and try to use Malicious to go for Ice Soda, you would just book the Malicious and your opponent can't use it. The fact that you cannot use face downs to go into link monsters is excellent. So right now, Evil Swarm Nightmare is like one of the best cards to put on the field turn 1. Now I'm not sure about no hand traps in this build. He's opted to play, Radion instead, and maybe that does work because if you look at this build specifically, if you do have your Radions and they are dead, well then technically if you're going second and your opponent, like, maybe you open with double Radion and one's dead, or you don't have a problem boss monster to kind of deal with, like maybe you're playing against like Altergeist, where kaijuing a monster really not going to do all that much. You could just use it for Allure Darkness, or even more importantly in that matchup, something like Twin Twister. But obviously in certain matchups, like if I had to choose between having an Ash Blossom going second against Sky Strikers in a deck like this, or maybe having a Kaiju, I'd probably pick the Kaiju because, yeah, you can Ash Blossom a startup engage and that's cool, or you could just Kaiju their, Shizuku, and then they can't use like the 5 cards in their back row, and maybe you can just kind of OTK them as we saw in that duel that you guys just watched, or you can kind of just set your board up, get all your disruptions, you can suck up their Shizuku with the Cyber Dragon Infinity and just win that way. So I guess to each its own. Maybe some people want to play hand traps, maybe some people want to run kaijus, but I kind of feel like this is a card in Wise Tricks that I would personally like to see in Savage Strike. I would love that because I feel like this deck has tier 1 written all over. There's too many disruptions that Raid Raptors can make turn 1 to lead me to believe that like it can't be a viable deck, especially even if Konami hits the other cards like the Armageddon Knights and all. It doesn't affect this deck basically at all.